Hi, and welcome to heaven. This is Julia Kivilda,
En Raquel.
and today we're coming with you with another exciting episode. But first, how are you? How have you been doing? It's been a while since we talked.
Julia, as you know, I'm living in Portugal right now. I'm in Lisbon, and recently we've been through a blackout and maybe changed my views in life. Like those glorious 12 hours without electricity, as all these influencers are kind of saying, but soon enough, all
Romanticizing.
went all back to the same. And I feel like I'm reflecting way more after the blackout than actually within.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's just been, what my life has been about lately because it's just like all the aftermath. Because at the same time, we also have the elections going on. So everyone is like using for
Yeah,
that politics. So that's been my environment as of late. Fun stuff. How are
amazing.
you?
Well, I'm still looking for a job, which is, I think, part of the reason why we're doing this episode because it's sending me into an existential crisis. And
Mhm.
yeah, that kind of made me think about, the pressures that we put on ourselves and this kind of like needs to always be great at things and like this underlying pressure to achieve bigger things in life, which is what this episode is going to be about. We call it the desire to be great, and I think that's a good description for it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is way more personal, but it still affects a lot of people's lives and it still affects a lot of our everyday, but also bigger stuff in life. And when I was doing my notes yesterday for this episode, it put me a bit under crisis. I am not gonna lie.
I
I was like,
know, I'm telling you, like when you start thinking about it, you're like, fuck.
yes, yeah. Well, let's get into it then. So, what does this all mean? Like, where did this come from? Like, this desire to be great. I actually would like to start off with Timothée Chalamet's speech that he had in his SAGs Awards because I think that speech and that it wasn't like incredibly viral, but it did stir a little bit on people's hearts because it was refreshing, yet it's something that we all feel on the inside. So he kind of expressed on his speech by winning that award that he wanted one of the greats. He wanted to be one of them. He's in the
Yeah.
pursuit of greatness. And I feel like everyone was taken aback at first hearing this speech, at least
Yeah,
that's our reception, I mean, of it. And I think is that we have grown in a way to expect some humbleness from actors and celebrities
yeah,
when it comes to the conditions. But in a way, in this case, he's an actor, that's an art form as well. So this wish to just be part of the greats and be the best and being together in like the lineup of the classics is a feeling that I think a lot of people have been having, but somehow repressing. And I think that's why I think it makes sense to talk about, even though it's a personal thing
yeah.
in like a wider situation. So where does this come from? Where this desire to be great really comes from?
Yeah, I think it stems from very different things for different people. But coming back to his specific speech, I feel like it kind of epitomizes what a lot of people think. And I think people are not used to it being spoken out loud. That's why I think a lot of people were taken aback. Like it's not something we're used to express, or we may think of it as silly. And especially comparing like to the greats. When I think of the greats, we think of people back in time. And I feel like right now we compare ourselves so much more to a huge population of people that we associate the greatness with like a thing of the past. So being in the present and expressing that I want to achieve great things in the future and I want to do something that makes an impact, that leaves a lasting impression is a very difficult concept to grasp because it's very hard to be the great one in the present, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've always felt that, for example, if we go into our field, sometimes I would look back into like, very famous designers of back in the day, and it felt so much easier, I don't know, to create an impact back then. It felt so much easier
Exactly.
to actually be part of one of the greats if only you make a little bit of effort, if only you think a little bit outside of the box, if only you went to the right city, you went to the right uni, you went to the right job, the right
Exactly.
people and things just would roll. It feels like everybody knew everybody. It was like it was different. And when I look at that state now, it feels so much harder to be part of the grades or like everyone or everything seems is demolishing you from ever getting there.
Exactly. And it's a very it's a very contradictory concept as well because it all boils down to accessibility and equality in a way because by making so many opportunities accessible, like higher education, like studying those disciplines, having access to a big platform through social media, etc., all these things make being great easier accessible to the masses, so to speak, because back in the day it was limited to a very specific number of people that could access that kind of circles, so to speak. And on one hand, it's great because in a way, anyone can be great. But if anyone can be great, is any person great at all? Because if everyone is great, is anyone truly? Because aren't we just all the same then? Like you always need that distance between, the great thing. So I think we should maybe start by defining what it means to be great in this context because it means different things to different people. Like for me, it's always meant to do something that leaves like a long-lasting impact, but it also associates with being known and being perceived as important by other people. That perception by others plays a big role in it for me, which is a bit sad, but I
When you talk about like that distance, I really think that, the ones who are great are the ones who really stand out.
yeah,
And sometimes if there's too many people, it's harder to stand out. I think, and that's what is asked from us the whole time,
yeah,
especially if we're thinking about success in terms of our work fields, which I believe that when we think about being great, is always great at something, and it's
yeah,
usually something that we do. And usually what we are doing is usually our work, our occupation, our
yeah,
practice, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's always in a way connected to what we do as humans and what's our activity,
yeah,
and that can end up defining us. So how can we stand out when everyone in a way is also great? And like as you,
exactly.
are we all great, but are we really, if to be great is to stand out? Because to me, I think what it means to be great definitely has to do with having an impact in the industry that you're in and to be known for it as well. It doesn't sound very good because sometimes there's great people who are not very well known. But I think to be part of that class, almost, you have to be known. Otherwise, that greatness would not be perceived as greatness. I don't know if like I'm coming to any like proper
I
argument
think
here,
that
but
I think that totally makes sense because in a way, to make a difference, you need to stand out and you need to make yourself known as well. I think it comes down to that. There's also as much platform as you have if you're just doing your little thing and you are making like a difference on a small scale. But let's be honest, if you do have a platform and it's like a combination of factors, talent, personality, charisma, they're all equally important and having connections, being able to make it out. But I think what you said also made me think about kind of the epidemic of like mediocrity,
okay.
um, which I think is something that I don't know, this is gonna sound like very a highbrow. And like I think some people are better than others, but I think that's true. I feel like hot takes.
Hot
Um,
take.
this all links because I feel like, as you said, if like everyone is great, is anyone great at all? And I think right now success is mostly defined by being famous. And with so many people being famous, for example, for social media, etc., like for me, that's not making an impact. Like if social media died, half of these people would be forgotten in like a few years. So I think it's that making impact aspect of it that's crucial to the like whole equation.
Maybe even stay in the collective memory, because if you are
Exactly.
so easily forgotten, then of course you did not make an impact. And I think I was thinking as well that another definition of success, this success is always very personal, it's always to the individual. And I think these ideas of success just keep fogging our minds because of the constant individualism that we see propagated through our childhoods up to our teenagehoods and adulthoods, and adding social media to the mix just makes it even more like it feels like the only way to define your success is through you as an individual, and our obsession with success and to be part of the great is not even in a collective way. It's not like, oh, you and me are going to be great. It's like, no, it's just me.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think that's maybe why as well we are very easy unsatisfied because when are we actually happy with ourselves? And if we
Yeah,
and if
exactly.
we think all the pressure and all the reasons of success in just us in that way of I'm kind of using success and greatness interchangeably because I think they are heavily connected. And if you are great, you are actually successful and vice versa.
That's kind of what I was thinking because when I was having like my massive existential crisis, I started thinking about why can't I just be happy with what I have, you know? Like why can't I just be happy doing my regular job and being where I am right now in my life? Like why do I always feel like I could be doing better, like I could be doing more, I could be doing things faster, like I could be progressing faster in my career, in my life. I could be achieving more things quicker.
The only reason you think those things as well is because that's what everyone around you tells you in a way, even if it's not,
Exactly.
can be directly, for example, through your parents, but it can also be indirectly through everything you see on Instagram or everything, or other people you see on LinkedIn, for example, like worst place on earth for your self-esteem, let me tell you that.
Yeah, hellscape, honestly. No, but that's very true. So that's kind of what I was leading with. I think for many people, it starts from your childhood. I think for me, definitely, I was always sold this idea that, oh, when you grow up, you're gonna do great things. Like, you're smart, you're educated, you should always push through to have the best grades, to do the best at university, to do the best with this. Your family is successful, like you need to do well. And I feel that's always stuck with me. I always strive to be the best. And obviously when you're in school it's fairly easy to be the best because it's very quantifiable through grades, achievements, extracurricular activities, whatnot. But then when you reach adulthood and you go into work, you don't have any.
Mhm.
It's hard to find like a very immediate goal. Obviously, you have like promotion, like a pay rise, etc. But it's way more elongated process to achieve that goal, so to speak, whatever that is. Whatever is like your great goal you're aiming for. If you know, that's great. I don't know, for example, what is my great goal? Like, I don't know what I would even define this concept of success as because I honestly don't know what it is. I have the need for it very deeply, but very hard for me to even define what it constitutes in practice because it almost feels like it's never an attainable one because no matter what I do and no matter how good I get, I always feel there should be something better and I move on to the next thing instantly. Like it's very hard for me to celebrate any of my successes because of that. And yeah, as you said, of childhood, etc. Now you have, I'm glad like this wasn't a thing when we were like growing up, but now you have like social media as well. And you have everyone telling you, yeah, you should be waking up at 5 a.m. No, actually, you should be waking up at 4 a.m. because you can then squeeze more things into your day and you should be doing more things. You're waking up at like 7:30. That's too late. You've already wasted 3 hours of your precious time that you could be doing yoga, journaling, and making plans for your, next 15 years to complete your 30-year plan because otherwise you're gonna be, a failure when you reach 40. So yeah.
Yeah. No, but I think, for example, in contrast, the contrast you find, from your early academic life, which is like your whole life,
Yeah.
pretty much, and then you contrast with the job market, it's really, I think it is very difficult, and it's definitely very difficult for anyone who was like an overachiever as a child, who, well, who like
Shout out to myself.
because I think it's very true what you're saying that we have very on point quantifiable marks of when we actually reach success and when we are told that we are great and we know when we're being great and when we're being not. And then as we're going, even at university that can get a bit more ambiguous, you still have those quantifiable marks. And I think that's also where you are sold so many illusions.
Yeah.
Um, that you are like exceptional, you yourself as an
Yeah.
individual, you are exceptional at this specific practice. And of course, this is also more towards like humanities, creative kind of fields, because not just like exact sciences.
Yeah.
You are kind of sold these things, and then you go into the job market who does not see you in that way whatsoever, neither expects, actually does not even expect greatness from you. And I think that's why it ends up being quite a disappointment and leads you to these types of crises because you
Absolutely.
are contrasted with this market that actually does not want any greatness from you in that sense, in the way that you perceive it, that in our case
Exactly.
has to do with our art field and creative fields. I also think it hit me hard when you're talking about mediocrity. I'm not being able to speak today. Um,
Okay.
and it's true, like when I am working with clients, they never want the best they could ever have out of like my work. They just want the bare minimum because they can't do it themselves. So they just hire me to do it because they can't do it.
Yeah.
That's what I deliver. And at some point, me as well as a professional, I'm like, why am I wasting time to just like hitting on a wall every time? I'm just going to do
Absolutely.
the bare minimum. And then you just go in this role of like just doing whatever, whatever, whatever. And you also stop caring. And
Exactly.
that's when things get kind of rough and dark within a person because we've been wishing to be great and we've been told that we can be great all the time. Like as
Yeah.
a child, everyone is like, you can be amazing, you can do everything, you can go and beyond, reach the stars and all that kind of stuff. It's still even in university, you still have these old dreams and chances, and then it just crashes on you because that's really not the case.
Yeah.
And there's just not a system that allows for people to do it. Because I think another big theme on this is this myth of meritocracy, which is
Yeah.
means that if you are hardworking enough, you will get to your goals. And I think that's pretty
It's
much a
not.
lie.
No, that's very true. And actually, what I would even emphasize is that the job market, in fact, as you said, it does not want you to have those desires because you're at your best when you are complicit and when you're happy in your cog in the machine kind of place because you're just being told what to do and you're doing it well. So essentially, you're just a tool for others. And that's desired because those jobs are desired because you're fulfilling a gap that other people can do. And it doesn't matter if you have big ideas because they're not going to be realized anyway because they're not wanted where you're at. And all of those dreams that you have, just like as you said, they come crashing down. You're just like churning out your 9 to 5 because you have to sustain yourself. But then it's very hard to make space for those to like nurture those great ideas and to nurture those desires that you've had previously because it feels really pointless. I feel like you become very disillusioned about the fact that what if I will never be able to achieve this because I just don't have the means to, or I just don't have the privileges to. And I feel like what I want to also talk about stemming from that is a lot of the people that we compare ourselves to, for example, online, kind of like a big illusion because a lot of them are never transparent about what facilitated their success in the first place. So we're very unaware of the privilege that they might have had, like, whether it's like generational privilege, like family wealth or whatnot, or other opportunities that were handed to them. And it does not negate their hard work in the present, but everyone needs a jump start. And I feel a lot of the times we just see things as they are at face value and we think, okay, this person is my age or they're younger than me. Maybe they're 22, maybe they're 21, and they're already, they make millions of pounds every year. And I'm here with all my education and everything that I'm trying to do, all the things that I did that were sold to me as the guarantees to being that great person. And I'm not there yet. And I'm comparing myself to the person that's younger than me and that's more successful than me. And it just like eats you from the inside.
For example, touching on that, I remember that one of the founders of one of the companies I worked for, he was, I don't want to be mistaken, but between 27 or 28 years old. And he actually incorporated one of those 30 before 30 lists by owning a business and making it a success, which insider point of view in my side was not that much successful, but people don't know. That's the point. Like on the outside, he looks this great entrepreneur who made this company a company that bought 5 other companies and technically made them better and it grew them and all that kind of stuff. And he was only 27. But once you get to know who this person is, and again, just as you said, I don't demise his hard work and I actually really liked him as a person.
Yeah.
Personally, I actually loved working with him and everything. I think he was very good at what he did. But that if he had the same personality, same hardworking values without his generational wealth, he would never be on that list. He would never be able to have this company that bought other companies within it. He
Exactly.
came from a very wealthy family, and I won't say like wealthy in terms of like millions, but they were very wealthy, in fact. I mean, enough to be able to buy millions of a
Yeah,
other company. So it's like, well, is it really that fantastic? I don't know about other people on that list of the 30 before 30. I know this one though. How many others did not have that type of help? And once again, doesn't mean that like, oh, because they come from a wealthy background, they can't do these things. Of course they can, but what are we actually celebrating here?
exactly.
Someone who jumped over a cliff because someone hold them? Like that, how much
Yeah,
is that of
exactly.
success,
If you
you
give
know?
everyone like £1 million, I'll assure you that like many of the people we know, us included, probably would also be incredibly successful and make these kinds of lists and stuff. So I feel like obviously this sounds like, I don't know, maybe to some people it's gonna sound like petty, and maybe to some people it's just gonna sound like I'm just being bitter because I'm not in the same place. But I'll take it. But I think it's really true. I feel like you need to also, I think it's very important for everyone themselves who's going through this and who's comparing themselves to people like that to like backtrack and think that maybe they just had a different start, like they just started from a different level in the first place.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and you have to be aware of that. Even things like doing unpaid internships or, taking unpaid opportunities to work or being able to make connections, like those are all things that you have to be privileged enough to do. And so many people are not. And if you're not, then it's so much harder to be great and break out and do that.
There's also the luck factor. Like, I think if we're talking about regular people that don't have those easiest starts into whatever they're trying to achieve, there's also a luck factor to it. Like, some people will get lucky to get that position that they wanted straight away, and others won't.
Yeah,
And some
exactly.
it has nothing to do with you, with your skills, or your
100%. I got incredibly lucky with my first job. It was pure coincidence, and I somehow like talked myself into getting it. But realistically, I had zero experience to do it. I just got lucky that someone saw it and thought, oh yeah, okay, maybe. And at the time they were also desperate enough that they needed someone to start immediately, and they took me. And after a certain time, it turned out that I was great at it, which is nice. But if I didn't have that luck factor, I would also be in a completely different place.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes it's just someone who actually looks at you and takes a chance on you as well, which again,
Exactly.
it's also a luck factor of who you find. And even talking about it again, these like 30 before 30 lists, I so despise them nowadays because why are we rushing? Like why are we rushing for? You know what I mean? Like why do we want to go so fast and be at that top level so soon? Should we take life as a journey? Should we just like enjoy the process of getting to the grades? Like, why do we want to do before 30? Like, you're not gonna die at 31. You're gonna die when you're like 70, 80, or 90. Like, you have so much to go. Can we
That's
just stop
true.
pressuring
But I feel
ourselves?
like,
Everything when we were so young. Come
I
on.
don't
Like, it's
know. Yeah, I really don't know where it came from, but there is this thing that 20s are like the years. It's
mm,
like for in the public perception, you need to do all these things before you're 30. And I
I
feel
know.
like that's what like makes your 20s such a hectic time, because not only you're like, finally developing as an adult, you're rediscovering like who you actually are, you're entering the job market, and at the same time you have this ticking bomb of a clock that you need to do all these things before you turn 30, because then you're like what, too old.
That's why the perception is definitely wrong because, it really takes up a change of mindset because I can also think, oh, this 26-year-old spent 6 years in her 20s just trying to do this business, but she actually had no life in a sense of like she never got a chance to go party with her friends, get smashed in a random parking lot, or I don't know, going camping for 5 days in a music festival or do that like random trip where they had to backpack the whole trip. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you have to do these
Yeah.
crazy things, to have a good 20s, but what I mean is that it's not the best you can do either. It's not like you're also very young in a sense that you should actually enjoy this time to make things that perhaps at 34 you don't want to do, because at 34 you are more adult.
Exactly.
You want more comforts in life. You don't want to go to a party until 6 a.m. You stay there until maybe 3 because I need my sleep. I'm an old woman. I'm like responsible. I have shit to deal with. When you're 25, no, when you're 25, you're just like, whatever, let's just have fun. And I think we're also like forcing this initial adulthood into our lives, and then we actually don't enjoy our youth as much because
100%.
because of like these things, like why we want to go there so fast. Like I just don't understand what are people rushing for? Okay, you do everything you want before 30, then what are you gonna do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's true. I feel like it all kind of also links to that entire grind mindset. As you said, I feel we're erasing our like young years. You're kind of made to believe that you have to do absolutely everything super early on. Like, I see people killing themselves in law firms or investment banking, and they're 22, fresh out of uni, and they literally have zero personal life. They're working from 9 a.m. till 11, 12 p.m. And not even in there. I mean, my job was pretty much the same at some point. So it literally does not matter what industry you're in. There's just like this pressure to do that and to commit your whole, like this time of your life into your career, that I feel like a lot of people often forget about the personal stuff. Like they just put it aside, they're like, oh, once I've made it, I'm gonna do it. But as you said, it's not the time. Like there's just some things that it's not gonna be the time for when you're 30, and then you'll have other priorities, and you'll always keep pushing this personal fun aside, so to speak. And I don't know, maybe that's for some people, but I feel in large we're sort of like indoctrinated to think that that's what you should be doing and that is what's great. Capitalism.
But
But
I think it also comes from fear
yeah,
because our lives, especially after the pandemic, like with the cost of living and inflation, housing crisis, I think everyone is also a bit afraid. Is like, oh, if I don't make it now, I might not make it later.
yeah,
Or if I don't secure my future now, I might not make it later.
yeah,
And I think sometimes people are also driven by these fears, which together with this grind hustle culture just makes everything kind of worse. And I think the problem is that, okay, you are rushing, 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 working, 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 but you don't feel great and you don't feel you are pursuing greatness because you don't care about what you're doing for what it is. Some people do like to work a lot because they really enjoy what they do.
yeah,
So, but they don't feel like Timothée Chalamet feels that he's working hard to pursue his art form. We
yeah.
are all grinding to have a life that is like worth living, but we don't care about what actually we are doing.
Yeah, it's like we're grinding to, be able to buy a house one day, or we're grinding to have money to one day go on a holiday, or just have like basic financial stability. It's not like we're grinding because we have this dream, the end goal that we want to achieve in our career. That's just not on the cards. Like that's how it feels.
Yeah, I think that's where this then ends up a little bit, where we are doing all this work, but we don't feel satisfied with ourselves because we are actually not pursuing greatness, even though we have the desire for it, because the only way you can get, in a way, like a financial good life is if you put those types of desires aside and just work for the sake of
Exactly.
working. So you just kind of stop caring and you even start just making jokes about it, or you pose as you don't care and you detach yourself from these goals. Oh no, I actually don't care about being the best of the best. I just want to make up my day and come back home and do my things. And which fair enough, but we have to agree, and I've participated in this a lot, that we are actually just using this type of detachment and sometimes even irony as a coping mechanism
Yeah.
because we're really not happy. And the only way we can do to make us feel better is to tell ourselves, oh no, I actually don't care.
Yeah.
And It's sad. I know that I participated in this a lot because I have this group chat with a few friends that I made in a specific job place, which was not very good for none of us. We kind of trauma bonded, and because of that, most of our convos in that chat is either gossip from that place that we left and we still have gossip about, or we just send a bunch of memes and reels and funny tweets about the work placement
Yeah.
and it's just like, I don't know, I can't really think of anything right now, but I'm pretty sure anyone listening to us knows like these memes about I'm a 365 party girl, but I'm forced to be a 360 outlook.
Yeah.
Microsoft, you know what I mean? These types of memes are like joking about the fact that I hate my job, blah blah blah. But if you think about it, like we're all very, and I said I participate in this widely, but we just use like our cool Gen Z irony and make jokes about this as literal coping mechanism because we're actually none of us is very satisfied, even if we're all just doing our job by the end of the day, getting the money and just like do our things on the side. But I think this is something that kind of correlates with internet lingo as well, and how
Yeah.
like talk about certain important issues, especially when it comes to, in this specific case, about like our mental health in the workplace, our disappointments and disillusions with the job market and job precarity and all that kind of stuff. It's not fun. It's not nice. So the only way we can make, is just by making a joke about it. And at first it seems all right, but then it gets a bit too much because we stop being serious and we stop taking things serious
Yeah.
anymore.
And
When
we
some
like normalize it as well. It becomes normalized. So it's kind of, oh yeah, all my friends and me, we hate our jobs. It's just the norm, you know? It's very hard that you talk to someone in the beginning of their career and they're like, yeah, I actually love my job. It's exactly what I want to be doing. Or like, or even if not, it's, oh, that's something that is one step closer to what I really want to be doing. Most of the time it's just, yeah, it was like the first job that I got and I needed money and now I have to do it because I'm afraid if I lose it, I'm not gonna have another job. And it's very true. Like right now, I'm looking for a job. And, at first, when I started looking, I still had my other job. So I had the liberty to be like, oh, the next place that I want to join, I'm gonna choose it more carefully. It's gonna be something that's gonna be more aligned with my personal values and interests. And then I lost my job. And, I started applying to absolutely like everything because I need a job to survive. And it's kind of, yeah, like at this point, I'll just take whatever has me, It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's
But
sad.
I was like, again, making the most depressing episode ever.
I know it is sad, but I think that's why we don't want to face it. And we criticize social media all the time by like not being genuine or authentic. And there's all this aspirational content. But I think the reason why that aspirational content remains popular, even though it makes us feel so bad about ourselves and we keep consuming it, because it is a way that we can still believe, and it's a way that keeps us close to maybe our dreams in a way, which sounds a bit contradictory, especially because if you have someone speak out their failures to your face, it also hits too much home. So you also don't want to watch it. You're kind of like in this catch-22 situation where anything people talk about your future, they're like, no.
No, honestly, I don't know. Like sometimes it's nice to relate, but then at the same time, you're like, oh, if everyone else is feeling that way, that means like there is no hope for any of us in a way.
So you make a joke about it.
Okay, so you make a meme about it, and then a million people like it.
Yeah, and then the comment you have everyone being super ironic, and I think I won't say that's a coward attitude because it's a bit too much. I think that's a bit too strong, but I do think the opposite is true, that it takes a lot of courage to care about what you do and to care about the situation you're in and to care like I don't like how I am right now and I'm really sad for where I am right now and I would like to be better. And I think that's why Chalamet's speech really hit home to people because he was really honest about saying, I really want to pursue this for the art form and I really want to do the best of the best. Like I will fail a couple of times and I did perhaps already, but I still want to do this. And people are like, damn, me too, actually. And that's when it starts feeling very shit on yourself because you're like, I want that too, but I can't. And that's why I have to joke about it.
Yeah, that's true. I think what I wanted to say, wrapping all of this up, is what can we do to change that? Or like what can we do to reframe the way we think about success for us personally and reframe how we feel about what it does mean to us, what to be great. I'm not saying like reframe in a way of compromising your dreams. Like I'm not saying that at all. But I'm
Mhm.
thinking maybe compartmentalizing it a little bit or breaking it down into smaller stages of maybe my goal in life is like this big thing, but perhaps, there's smaller little goals that I can do to achieve to make it happen, or that will like give me that sense of fulfillment. Obviously, we don't live in an idealistic world and we need work to survive, but maybe defining like, okay, instead of resharing another meme about like me being unhappy with my job, maybe, I can really pursue these little things in my private time that will make me feel better about myself and they will make me think like I am taking steps to be closer to that thing that I want to be, to the person that I want to be in the future, and to that, greatness, whatever it is for you. And I think that helps a lot. At least it has helped me, and it's like very little things that can do to make yourself feel better, I think, and like committing your time to different things. And again, I don't want it to sound like those people that I mentioned before that are, oh, you should be doing so many of these things in a day, and like outside of your 9 to 5, you should be, running your own business or whatnot, because that's not at all what I'm saying. But I think finding ways that just make you feel better, like whatever it is, whether it's reading a book on the topic that you are interested in, or whether it is, whether you're scrolling through social media, but maybe it's following people that make you feel better, or that making connections with those people, making connections with other people that maybe want to pursue the same thing that you do, and then maybe you can help yourself pursue it together. I feel like those things are really important. And yeah, instead of just like I was being miserable in your job for so long, but staying in it until it's too late, or staying in it because it's an income and you can sort of be happy outside of it because you have money, but actually inside you're just miserable because you're committing so much time to something you don't like, but not being able to take that risk to actually do something different. I feel like it's important to ask yourself those questions and like really think about it, and then do those little things that seem a bit more attainable in the short run and give you that like satisfaction in the meantime. And yeah, and I would also say like not give up on the dream to be great. It's important. I would say like not put too much pressure on yourself to do it immediately. Like that's me, because I'm like an immediate rewards kind of person. So I'm like, if it doesn't happen in the next 2 weeks, I don't like it. So not giving up on the dream and not letting people tell you like, oh, what are you thinking? Like you're just any other regular person. Like if you feel like you're not, then you're not. And
Mhm.
chase your dreams, babes.
Yes, no, I think you're totally right. Definitely reframing what success is, but not in broader terms, like actually really go personal within yourself, because
Exactly.
you sometimes are going to compare yourself to people who, oh my God, look at this person. They are 25 and they create a business of workout wear. And I'm like, but that's not my dream though. Why?
Exactly. Like you don't want to have a business of workout wear or maybe a business at all?
Exactly. Like, why am I feeling sad because of that? It's not because of that specifically, it's that this person seems like achieved success and I didn't. So it's more like, okay, but what is your personal success to you? And then I think you're going to be way less bitter and also way less ironic once you start feeling more satisfied with what you're doing. And once you actually know what that success means and when you're working towards it. I think that, it's great to achieve it, but it's also great to work towards it. And sometimes we are so lost into like the end result. We just want to have the end result. And that's why we fall out of love or we get very
Exactly.
frustrated because we don't get there. But if we are enjoying our ride and we are seeing our progress, it's completely different. So even the things aside that are external to us, for example, the job that's keeping us afloat, might us feel as miserable. But if we don't look at that because we are actually doing something as we go, I think it's different. Like we just need to have meaning in our lives at the end of the day. And if your job right now is not doing that, then I highly recommend you looking for another one. Obviously, having measure that you need to survive regardless. But I think we just need to have meaning in our lives.
Yeah.
And if you need a job to keep you afloat because you can't do that at the same time, then do it. And the other thing I would say is that, especially in our very early questions of is there space for everyone to be great, really, is that perhaps we also need to start thinking that instead of wanting to stand out from other people and to be great in comparison to other people, is more like be great yourself. Like be great to what the image of great means to you.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to sound too self-helpy. Like I was really trying to avoid that for the whole episode. I don't want to sound like a self-help book at all, but I really think that you should also think about being great yourself and not great in comparison to others or like
Yes.
great from others or the best from a group of people. No, you are best within yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's also a good way because it removes all the pressure, it removes the comparison, which is actually what is making you miserable at the end of the day as well. So, yeah. If none of this advice helps you, I'm sorry.
But also, yeah, we're not licensed to give advice on this, so
Feeling
take
good
it
with
with a grain of salt. But if you relate this great, let us know. And if you don't, also let us know. Maybe you already think you're great and you don't feel like that at all. Or maybe you never had that and we're just fucked up from the
or,
start.
or maybe we are the ones who are wrong because we are way too ambitious for our own good, and maybe that's our problem. Let us know all your thoughts. And if you actually are not feeling good mental health wise, then we always advise a therapist. We are great, in fact, but we advise an actual professional to take care of you.
Exactly.
So, with that said, I hope you enjoyed. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And yeah, love you all. I know you're all amazing and great.
Yeah, and we'll see you soon. Well, not see you, but you'll hear from us soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.